La Drang, South Vietnam, November 1965. This is Ground Zero. The Battle of La Drang was the first major engagement between the United States Army and the North Vietnamese Army during the Vietnam War. It took place in the central highlands of South Vietnam near the Cambodian border in the Ia Drang Valley. The battle tested the US Army's new air mobility doctrine and demonstrated both the strengths and the limitations of helicopter warfare. The first phase of the battle began on November 14, 1965, when Lieutenant Colonel Harold G. Moore led approximately 450 soldiers of the 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry Regiment, part of the 3rd Brigade, 1st Cavalry Division, into landing zone X-ray by helicopter. Unknown to the Americans, they had landed near the headquarters of the North Vietnamese 66th Regiment, supported by elements of the 33rd Regiment, with an estimated 1,500 to 2,000 troops in the immediate area. Using helicopters, the Americans inserted troops in stages while artillery and air support protected the landing zone. Once on the ground, the battalion formed a defensive perimeter and fought repeated attacks from the North Vietnamese forces. North Vietnamese forces relied on infiltration, close-range assaults and trench networks to engage with US troops. Their objective was to fight at such short distances that American artillery and air power would be difficult to use without risking friendly fire casualties. The US Army responded with coordinated artillery, helicopter resupply, close air support and tactical airstrikes. Despite being heavily outnumbered, the American battalion held landing zone X-ray for 3 days until reinforced by additional battalions of the 5th and 7th Cavalry Regiments. The battle highlighted the effectiveness of helicopter mobility and supporting firepower, but also showed that determined enemy forces could inflict heavy losses by fighting at close quarters. After the fighting at landing zone X-ray ended, the 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry and the 2nd Battalion, 5th Cavalry were ordered to move overland towards landing zone Albany on November 17th. During the march, the column was ambushed by large forces of the North Vietnamese 8th Battalion, 66th Regiment and by other nearby units. The American formation was caught while stretched along the trail, preventing mutual support between companies. The resulting battle at landing zone Albany became one of the bloodiest engagements of the Vietnam War. The fighting at landing zone Albany lasted for several hours. US artillery and air support eventually helped stop the attack, but only after severe casualties. The North Vietnamese also suffered heavy losses in the close combat. Together, the battles at landing zone X-ray and landing zone Albany became known as the Battle of La Drang. Several American soldiers received the Medal of Honor for actions during the battle. Lieutenant Colonel Harold G. Moore was awarded the medal for his leadership at landing zone X-ray. Major Bruce P. Crandall, a helicopter pilot, repeatedly flew into intense enemy fire to deliver ammunition and evacuate wounded soldiers. Captain Ed W. Freeman, another helicopter pilot, also repeatedly landed under fire to resupply troops and rescue the wounded. Their actions became enduring examples of courage under fire. American casualties during the Battle of La Drang totaled approximately 234 killed, 242 wounded and 4 missing. North Vietnamese casualties remain disputed. US estimates placed North Vietnamese losses at around 1,000 to 1,800 killed, while North Vietnamese sources reported significantly lower figures, generally several hundred killed. The exact number has never been confirmed. Neither side achieved a decisive tactical victory, but both claimed success. The United States demonstrated that helicopter-borne infantry, supported by overwhelming artillery and air power, could withstand attacks by larger enemy forces. The North Vietnamese concluded that fighting at very close range reduced the effectiveness of American firepower and adopted this tactic throughout much of the war. The Battle of La Drang had a lasting influence on how both sides fought for the rest of the Vietnam War. American commanders believed that the battle proved that helicopters could rapidly move troops into combat and that superior artillery and air support could overcome larger enemy forces. The success at landing zone X-ray reinforced confidence in the Army's new air mobile doctrine. The North Vietnamese Army reached a different conclusion. Although they had suffered heavy losses, they believed that fighting at very close range had reduced the effectiveness of American firepower. By staying close to US soldiers, they made it more difficult for the Americans to use artillery and airstrikes without endangering their own troops. This tactic became a key feature of later battles throughout the war. The battle also highlighted the importance of leadership and discipline under extreme pressure. Small unit commanders had to make rapid decisions while isolated from other companies. Helicopter crews repeatedly flew into dangerous landing zones to deliver ammunition, evacuate wounded soldiers, and reinforce the defenders. Without these resupply missions, the battalion at Landing Zone X-Ray may not have been able to hold its position. The experiences of the soldiers at La Drang were later brought to a wider audience through the 1992 book We Were Soldiers Once and Young, written by Lieutenant General Harold G. Moore and journalist Joseph L. Galloway. The book drew on interviews with American and North Vietnamese veterans and described the battle from both perspectives. Today, the Battle of La Drang is studied by military historians and armed forces around the world. It demonstrated the advantages of air mobility, the importance of combined arms tactics, and the determination of both armies. The Battle of La Drang therefore became a defining engagement that shaped the strategy and tactics of both armies for the remainder of the Vietnam War. Although the battle did not decide the outcome of the Vietnam War, it revealed the challenges that would define the conflict over the next decade, making it one of the most significant battles of the entire war.